Well, to tell us more about what's behind Xiaomi's success to date, I'm joined by Ying-ying Lu. She's co-host of the Techbuzz China podcast produced by Pan Daily. Welcome, Ying-ying.
Thank you so much, Rachelle, for having me.
You're very welcome. Now, let's start with this IPO. Why choose Hong Kong versus the mainland or anywhere else?
Well, I see this as definitely a win for Hong Kong. Lei Jun, the CEO of Xiaomi, has been wooed by everyone from New York to Shanghai. It was supposed to be the first company to actually take advantage of China's CDR listing. And from what's developed recently, we focus a lot on, the price and the amount that's offered to be listed has been negotiated down from over a $100 billion valuation and offering $100 billion in shares to now possibly just a little bit over $6 billion. But the overall picture is, that's just the recent happenings in terms of IPO and definitely choosing to list in Hong Kong could be because the price is more favorable for Xiaomi. It's definitely Hong Kong is a financial center. It's better sort of at understanding that Xiaomi is not a traditional company. It's not even your traditional comparable to Apple. It's really, as we heard in the previous clips, focused on this three-pronged, possibly even four-pronged online, offline, hardware, e-commerce, focus on internet services business model. So, this whole debate over is the PE ratio better to be closer to Apple or is it more like a Tencent if we're comparing it to another Chinese internet giant? I would argue for the latter.
So it seems like Xiaomi is essentially blazing its own trail with this four-pronged approach. So how would you describe its performance so far in China's domestic market?
Definitely very innovative. So some of the things that Xiaomi's done, for our audiences here, just to give you a taste of really what it's like being largely middle-class consumers. I see, I travel there quite often, and I see a lot of households have 2, 3, if not more products by Xiaomi. And still, even then, we're talking just hardware. So rice cookers, air purifiers, their whole mantra is to create products that really make life easier for Chinese consumers. But again, that's just focusing on the one prong of their business. Xiaomi, even in the last 2 years, has partnered with over 100 just domestically in China startups that essentially it's incubating in-house, but also just taking a minority share in, allowing the founders to innovate on these hardware products and then spinning them out, offering their supply chain, offering distribution channels to really get those out, the top quality innovations to Chinese consumers.
So within China, we also know that Xiaomi has also partnered with Microsoft, not to mention Baidu, in terms of its artificial intelligence project. So talk about some of Xiaomi's key collaborations and how that plays into its overall overseas strategy.
Yeah, so overseas is going to be where Xiaomi really wins. And so before we do focus on the overseas aspect, though, I want to say, even as the founder himself, Lei Jun, has reiterated, we are still a Chinese company. We started here, and Xiaomi has really fallen in the past couple years in terms of domestic market share, again, purely for smartphones. But 2017 was a really good year. It kind of rose a bit more, and it's looking to sort of keep that stronghold as it also looks international. So as we mentioned, different markets and different partnerships, but also as previously described in the clips, in India, there's still lots of opportunity to grow. The best bet is for the company to take its existing business model, those synergies, to work with global partners and take that model around the world, perfect its distribution channels. As I've described, you mentioned AI, for sure, even in terms of smartphones, that is going to be one area in which we see our phones, our hardware, changing a lot in the next few years, in the next few decades.
Now, because we do have a little bit of time left, but you did mention India. So what would you see as their potential there in terms of how much room there is to grow there? And what do you see as any potential challenges that Xiaomi might face as it does try and grow domestically and overseas?
Well, so India is the world's largest smartphone market. And as of the last quarter, actually the last 2 quarters of last year, Xiaomi overtook what was previously #1 seller, Samsung, in that market. So, now it's looking to, like, as we mentioned, this all ties together, take the business model it's perfected of distributing other products, of innovating on other products, selling internet services through the phones that these consumers already have in their hands, to upsell, create more products, and, push that market. So in terms of challenges, I would say, if it doesn't succeed in making that conversion and applying different prongs of its business model, also, some might say, oh, it's already doing so well in the world's largest smartphone market, so maybe there's just less room to grow.
All right, thank you so much for your insights. Ying-ying Lu there, co-host of Techbuzz China podcast by Pan Daily.